Hello lovelies, welcome to chapter 12, module 12, paper 2, and this is the first 1 to 10 of the monster paper 2 monster paper. So let's dive straight in with transition elements can have variable oxidation states. Which pair of compounds shows a transition element in two different oxidation states? So don't worry if this was a little bit difficult for you, that's perfectly understandable. We're going to spend module 5 going through how to write formulas. But you've got some idea. These two may have provided you, these end ones may have provided you with a little trickiness because we haven't learnt them yet. So if chromium has bonded with oxygen and then two chromiums have bonded with 3 sulfates. Well, chromium, oxygen is always -2. So you've got -2 forming -3 -2s forming -6. In this case, +6, it must be +6 to balance out the charge. So +6 divided by 2, because we've got 2 of them, must be +3 and +3. So the oxidation state of the chromium here is +3. Let's have a look over here. Sulfate is -2. So again, we've got -2, -2. Oh, it's looking a bit familiar. -6. So it doesn't need a genius to work out that these ones are +3s because the charge has to add up. So unfortunately, in this A, the chromium is in exactly the same oxidation state, both -3. So let's cross that out. You would do this on scrap paper or the back of your note, the extra note sheet that it's taken if you were going to run out, or you just do it in pencil and rub it out. Next, let's do copper. 2 coppers bonded with 1 oxygen and 1 copper bonded with a carbonate. Well, a carbonate is -2 and you've got 1 of them, so this copper must be +2. Oxygen is always -2, but there's 2 of these coppers, so each one must be +1 +1. We found our answer already, because +1 on this copper and +2 on this copper. So our answer must be B. So we're not going to waste time in the exam going through those, but I can show you here for explanation purposes if you want. We would have zinc with sulfur, and we've got zinc. Oh, helps if I do my zinc the right way around. We've got zinc with sulfate. Well, sulfur is in group 6, so it's always -2. That means zinc must be +2 to balance it out. Sulfate is always -2, and zinc must be +2. You might be thinking, well, how does Mrs. Baker know that sulfate is -2? The answer is, I'm afraid, we just remember it. Sulfate is something called a compound ion. We will learn about it in the next module. So in this case, the zinc has a +2 here and a +2 here, so it's definitely not C. And to rule out D, we've got nickel bonded with oxygen, and we've got nickel bonded with NO3, which is a nitrate, but we've got 2 of them. So in this case, oxygen is a -2, so the nickel must be +2. Nitrate we know is -1. Again, we just remember it. So we've got -1, -1 together makes -2, but we've only got 1 nickel, so it must be a +2 to balance it out. So we've got nickel as a +2, nickel as a +2, so it can't be D either. Okay, a flammable gas needs to be removed from a tank in an industrial plant. For safety reason, an inert gas is used. Remember, inert means unreactive. So it must be one of the noble gases. Easy peasy, argon. Elements in group 2 of the periodic table show the same trends in their reaction with water and their density as group 1, which shows how the properties of barium compare with calcium. Well, we know that barium is right down at the bottom of the group, whereas calcium is 2 steps above it. So we know that reactivity is going to increase. We know that because it says it's the same as group 1. We also know that the density will increase going down the group. So we know that they have faster reactions, so it can't be C, it can't be D, and then we know that the density will be higher, so it can't be B. It must be A. 4. A new element, oxfordium, was discovered with the following properties. It's insoluble in water, it doesn't conduct electricity, it forms a formula with oxygen of OX2, and the bonding in the molecule is triple bonded. Okay, so it's going to be diatomic. This means that it's diatomic, and this means that it's going to form a triple bond with itself. Okay, it doesn't conduct electricity, so it's probably a covalent molecule, and it's insoluble in water, which suggests that it's covalent too. So let's have a look. Group 3 is a metal. We can rule it out straight away because all metals conduct electricity. Group 5, group 5s, they do form diatomic molecules with each other. Think about N2. So it's probably B. It's not going to be group 7 because group 7 would form a diatomic molecule, but it would be OX with a single bond between them because they'd only share one pair of electrons. So it's not going to be group 7. Can't be group 8 because group 8 it's monatomic. It doesn't form diatomic molecules, not even with itself. The positions of 4 elements in the periodic table are shown. Which element is a gas that displaces iodine from sodium iodide? So it has to be group 7 because we're talking about the halogen displacement reactions. The only one it can be is C. And of course C we know is chlorine because we can look on the periodic table that we have in front of us. Which element about the halogens and their compounds are correct? The colour of the elements gets lighter as you go down group 7. They get darker. Definitely not. The elements get less dense going down group 7. No, they don't. They get more dense. Everything gets more dense because the elements get bigger. When chlorine is added to sodium iodide, iodine is formed. Yes, chlorine is more reactive than the iodine. Let's just check the last one. When iodine is added to sodium bromide, bromine is formed. No, iodine is less reactive, so the sodium's going to stay coupled with the bromine. The answer must be C. Number 7, which row about elements in the periodic table is correct? So is it 2 elements in the same group have similar chemical properties, or 2 elements in the same period? Well, of course, they're in groups. The groups suggest their properties, so it can't be C or D. We've written that out straight away. Is it metals are on the left, or is it metals are on the right? Well, of course, metals are on the left, so it must be A. So question 8. Elements P and Q have the same number of electron shells. Q has more electrons in its outer shell than P. So let's just quickly draw the periodic table. If P and Q have the same number of electron shells, they must be in the same period, but Q has more electrons, so Q is going to be over here and P is going to be over here. We don't know whereabouts exactly, but we just know that P is more towards the metal side and Q is more towards the non-metal side. So P and Q are in the same group of the periodic table. No, they're not, but they are in the same period. P has a greater tendency to form positive ions than Q. Yes, because it's more towards the metal side. Metals form positive ions and non-metals form negative ions. The oxides of Q are more basic than those of P. These are the basic sides. The non-metals are always the acidic oxides. And in the middle, that's where we have any amphoteric oxides. So, sorry mate, not true. What's the answer? 2 and 3. Which metal has variable oxidation states? It's only the transition metals. It must be C. All the rest are not transition metals. 10. Period 3 of the periodic table contains the element sodium to argon. Element Q is a non-metal from this period. Which statement about Q is correct? Well, non-metals do not conduct electricity, only metals do. It has a lower proton number than sodium. It has electrons in only 3 shells. Yes, it's only got 3 shells. And it is malleable. It's a non-metal, they're brittle. So, which statement about Q is correct? It has to be C. 11. Which statement about the noble gases is correct? Argon is used in light bulbs and balloons. No, argon is used in light bulbs, but helium is used in balloons. Argon is heavier than air. Helium reacts with oxygen in the air. No, helium is unreactive. It's a noble gas. They all have full outer electron shells. Yes. D, they are all diatomic molecules. No, they're monatomic. They only hang around by themselves. What's the correct answer? C. Oh, I've got one more. Sorry, you got 11 for the price. You got extra. Buy 10, get one free. Okay, I'll come back in the next episode.